President Trump has officially rolled back his tariffs on the EU as Bitcoin is currently sitting right around $90,000. Was that it? Are we just going to explode much higher from here? In today's video, we'll be talking about this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, and what I think could be happening in the short term and in the more medium term. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So first things first, I am still very comfy in my shorts. I took a little bit more profits, but I will continue to maintain this position that you're seeing here on the screen because yes, I do think that the probabilities favor Bitcoin continuing to go lower. That being said, it doesn't mean that we can't spot some opportunities in the short term. Now, what were those opportunities? Because I actually shared this in my group yesterday. Bitcoin was essentially hovering right around the point of control of this entire range. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if we go to this Bitcoin range here, you'll notice that we have tons of volume right around the $87,500 level. So, what this means is we're always bound to get a reaction right around here. The reason why this is so critical is because ultimately, since November, Bitcoin has been in the exact same range. So I discussed a potential scalping opportunity in this market for those of you that didn't have long exposure. And you'll notice exactly how it played out. So what you want to do is typically wait for the price to actually drop below the level and then get a 15-minute reclaim to go ahead and enter long with your stop loss right below the low. So you can see exactly how it played out. As soon as we dump below the point of control, which is this turquoise line, a lot of people started going aggressively short. However, we reclaimed it almost immediately, getting a 15-minute candle close above this level. This is ultimately where you would have entered a long in this market, and then you can see the price action afterwards. That is basically a $3,000 move from the lows all the way up to the highs. Now, this was all shared in my group. You can see here, I leave a couple voice messages, but if we scroll down here, this is essentially what I shared. We're in the entire range, and then as Bitcoin does go ahead and break below, which we hadn't done quite yet, we drop down, and then we manage to reclaim it as support. You can expect some upside for Bitcoin. So how does this normally work? Because this is exactly what I shared in my group. Now, something to consider. The reason why I was so confident we would get some kind of reaction at this level in the immediate short term is because the range has been established since November. That is basically a 2-month range where we have the most amount of volume right around the turquoise line. And so it was always within my expectations that we would get some kind of move here. So here's exactly what I shared in my group late last night. Sweep the lows and point of control at 87.5K of the range with a 15-minute acceptance back above, which meant a candle close, and very tight stop loss below whatever wick materializes, because ultimately we're not fortune tellers. All I was expecting was a move down before we can go ahead and move up. The trend is still down, so aggressive risk management would be imperative. Then I left a voice message saying that essentially there was a lot of volume coming in terms of sells, and because I'm still positioned from my low here at around $82,700 where I went ahead and longed Bitcoin, it didn't make sense for me to really look for a new position in the market, but it was still ultimately a great opportunity. And you can see exactly how it played out. We dropped below the point of control, we quickly reclaimed it, and this is ultimately where you would have entered on that trade. And naturally, you can see how the price action developed afterwards. So the entry would have been right around $87,700, give or take a few $100s depending on which exchange you're using. But you can see right now that Bitcoin is sitting right around $90,000. That was more of a scalp. If you like those kinds of opportunities, remember you do have the first link in my description down below. I'm not the type of guy that gets in and out of trades on a daily basis, but when I spot these kinds of big opportunities, I try to share them in my group, even if I myself am not trading them. So that's the first link in my description down below. You click this link and you will essentially get access to this group where I share all of my updates. Speaking of a new update, I decided to close my Solana short. It wasn't the best execution, but I still managed to secure some pretty solid profits on the trade overall. I came this close within my invalidation, but ultimately profit is profit, and I'm very happy with my overall positions in the market because this kind of structure to me doesn't suggest that Bitcoin is going to go all the way back above $97,000. But if it happens, my stop loss is already at break even and I've already secured some profits on this trade. Ultimately, I want to hold this trade because I do think that we will be seeing Bitcoin go below $80,000. Now, I don't mean to confuse anyone, but you have to separate the short-term opportunities to the long-term opportunities, ultimately scalps and swings. So my shorts are currently swings in this market, and I'm more than happy to let this play out as the price action develops. Now, if you're looking for a potential short entry and you do firmly believe that the top for Bitcoin is in, you want to actually see us potentially get a more significant relief rally, maybe up to around $93,000. And why is that level important? Well, if you take a look at the charts here, you can see that we do now have a CME gap all the way up to that level. CME gaps have around a 97% chance that they do get filled, and we shouldn't ignore the fact that we do have a gap to the upside. Previously, the gap was around $88,000. We filled that gap. So the question really is here, are we going to fill this gap sooner rather than later? Next thing I wanted to show you here, taking a look at USDT dominance, you can see that we're still trying to build on this uptrend. Again, if we break through this level, this is when we go ahead and break below $80,000 for Bitcoin. Taking a look at Bitcoin dominance, still slowly climbing up. And if we take a look at the S&P 500, yes, we did get a positive reaction yesterday. So what exactly happened in terms of the news? So initial details of the Trump-Greenland deal have indeed emerged. It involves small pockets of land for the US involved in Greenland's mineral rights. Duration of the deal has an indefinite time frame designed to block Russian influence in Greenland, and the US Golden Dome system will also be involved, opens the door to US-backed infrastructure investment. So ultimately, it's not like President Trump wanted the entirety of Greenland. He's just looking to secure land, mineral, and defenses in one single deal. Now, something else that you should understand, the crypto market structure bill is likely to be delayed to late February or even March, as the Senate Banking Committee did pivot to Trump's housing affordability push per Bloomberg. So this is something you need to consider because this was getting hyped up in January, and now it looks like the delay will be continuing here. And something that I personally really like to see, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong standing up for crypto.
More independent central banks with a democratic mandate than private issuers of Bitcoin, which have a very useful role. But
Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. There's actually no issuer of it. So that's in the sense that central banks have independence. Bitcoin is even more independent. There's no country or company or individual who controls it in the world. And so, anyway, I think it's a healthy competition because if people can decide which one they trust more. And I think it's actually the greatest accountability mechanism on deficit spending.
And if you ask me, I trust decentralization over banks any day of the week. Now, something else you need to understand. So the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stablecoins, is getting rejected at its bull market support band. This is ultimately not what you want to see for altcoins. I know some of you guys are already tired about altcoins. If you're new to the channel, I have been vocally bearish on altcoins for as long as I can remember, over a year now. But the point that I want to get across here is altcoins will likely continue to suffer against Bitcoin into this year. But, and it's a big but, as altcoins continue to bleed and as the Fed starts injecting liquidity, I actually do believe when everyone gives up on altcoins will be the time where altcoins can outperform. It will just require a little bit of patience. And as always, I will be sharing exactly which altcoins I may be looking at in the future on my YouTube channel. But remember, the golden rule of crypto is to have most of your portfolio in Bitcoin. Speaking of Bitcoin, let's get back to the charts here. I think a lot of people are going to get excited that we're holding on to this support level, but ultimately, I still think that even if we do get a little bit of a short-term pump here, that we will end up getting rejected. And my base case for this year is that Bitcoin will be going below $80,000, likely also below $70,000, which should be seen as an excellent opportunity in preparation for the next massive run. And the last thing to cover here, a summary of what Trump said regarding tariffs. Based upon a very productive meeting that I have had with the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. This solution, if consummated, will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. Additional discussions are being held concerning the Golden Dome as it pertains to Greenland. So you can see how this develops. He threatens tariffs and then he essentially pulls them back. So I still think that ultimately Bitcoin will be bleeding lower. I don't think it makes sense for everyone to get too excited, and I don't expect Bitcoin to have a massive rally. But remember my base case. Even if we are to get that rally, I would simply be looking for new shorting opportunities in this market. Ultimately, very, very happy with my overall position in this market. This trade will continue to print, especially if Bitcoin trends towards $80,000. Something else you need to consider if you're new to the channel, I went long when everyone was freaking out when Bitcoin hit just below $81,000. And you can see right now that I have exposure to the upside and to the downside. But ultimately, I am still favoring a move lower, even if we get a little bit of a relief rally. If you want access to all of my own personal trades that you're seeing here on the screen when I went long at the lows and when I also went short at the top, you do have that first link in the description down below, which brings you to my free Telegram community. Everyone right now is panicking to enter into new trades, but I am simply sitting on my hands, very, very relaxed. And that sums up today's quick update. The scalp longing opportunity was there at the point of control of this range. Now we'll have to see whether or not this move can actually be sustained to the upside, perhaps targeting $93,000 before rolling over, which is still my base case, or if we end up just rolling over from here, because Bitcoin is currently hovering just around $90,000. Ultimately, if you're trading this market, make sure you have proper risk management, protect your positions, and let the market do its thing. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. As always, I have my bluff and leverage trading tutorial right here, and I'll see you in the next video.